What's going on, podcast people? Welcome back to the show. This is the Zero to Here podcast. On tonight's show, business leader, business coach, leadership coach, Sara McCabe. This is a really fun conversation. We literally talk about a little bit of everything. Check it out. Leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you. And also, we would love for you to hit that subscribe button.
But I have a question before we switch topic. Okay, what if you have an opportunity to build a basement suite and a garden suite? Is it just strictly like what a house is actually capable of doing as to why you would build a garden suite versus a basement suite? And is there actually any difference between a garden suite and a basement suite?
Like an above ground basement? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Are we starting?
I'm recording, but
Yeah, let's. Why can't we talk about real estate?
We can.
Okay, perfect. When you're building new construction,
Yeah.
there's height restrictions on how high you can build. So if you want to build a 3-story home, you have to dig down. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Every municipality is a little bit different. Every zoning is different.
Okay.
Some places in the Lower Mainland, because of what they're building, the material they're building on top of, you can't build basements. So you can only build 2 stories.
Oh.
But if you're wanting to build a 3-story home, there's height restrictions. So that's why people build basements rather than 3 stories above ground, because it's too high. You can't build that high.
Okay, because I live in a garden suite, and I just thought it was like a marketing term.
Is it a new home?
No.
Yeah, okay.
It's it's like...
That's probably 2 stories?
Actually,
With an attic, maybe?
Yeah, I think it is, that they've like converted and done something with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like confused about that.
Back in the day, the zoning and rules were pretty loose.
But I heard, maybe it was a rumor, I heard that they had not changed any of the zoning for like forever. Maybe that was just...
they would definitely have adjusted what like new construction can be on that zoning. Like it changes all the time. Even I know New West best. New West is where we do like half of our business. And New West just changed the most common zoning, which is RS1, that attached garages now count as square footage. Right?
How do you feel about that?
I am very upset because I have a house in New West on an RS1 zone, a very old one that I'm going to build on eventually. And now what I wanted to have an attached garage, I'll probably have to do a detached garage so that I can make the house as big as I want it to be.
What's the reasoning behind that?
Basically to deter, homeowners, new developers from building with attached garages. The city does not want attached garages.
Why?
That's a great question, Sarah. I would love a real answer for that. Why?
Let's go talk to them about that.
Especially
makes no sense.
There's like a little neighborhood called Queen's Park in New West, and it's a lot of old homes, a lot heritage style homes, and they want the neighborhood to feel and look the same. So they don't like attached garages because as you're driving down the street, you're looking at garages rather than like cute craftsman style homes.
Is that like in Vancouver where they decided to make that rule where it was like if you make a unique looking laneway or something like that, an original or different laneway, they pass laws fast? Like I heard that there was something that they were implementing where they were like, if this is designed and looks different, like we are more likely to pass it because they don't want a bunch of like sameness happening.
Do you know? I don't know about that.
I have no idea.
I've never heard that.
But I believe
that would be difficult.
You believe it?
It's Vancouver.
See, I was surprised because I feel like Vancouver actually likes a lot of sameness.
You think so?
Yeah,
just
I mean,
the bland.
That's why the Vancouver special was invented. Like all of those like little Juliet balconies up top that make no friggin' sense. Now it's changed to like what basically looks like a box, but like a modern box. And Vancouver has decided that that's like the next coolest thing. There's not a lot of people you see that are doing very different architecture, which I have my own theory as to why, because the land costs so much that they're like, cool. I just spent all of the money acquiring this plot of land. I will not have any money left to get crazy and do creative things. That's just I know nothing about this. That's my uneducated guess.
Well, that's why these new condos aren't built that well, right? Because like you said, the property is so expensive that you have to take a cut in the materials and the labor. So then this is what you get.
Mm-hmm. See?
It is getting better, though. I will give it that. So a lot of new architecture in single-family homes throughout Greater Vancouver is either those modern types, which are hit and miss for me.
Mm-hmm.
The very boxy with like cedar outside, flat roofs.
It's a thing.
They're hit and miss for me. Some of them are designed really well and look great. Others, you can tell, were really cheaply done. Or like that craftsman style home, which I prefer, with like peaked roofs.
Yep.
Dormers.
What's a dormer?
A dormer. Great question. Usually a window attached to it that comes out of the roof line. So if the roof is like this, a dormer would be like a little roof line with a window coming out.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
I'll Google it and show you a photo.
I love a craftsman, though.
So when you, like going back to the 70s, though, you had all those ugly stucco, like boxes.
No rain
Vancouver
screens,
specials. And then you're going into the 90s where they just built as cheap as absolute possible. And you get these ugly stucco brown
duplexes
that are already falling apart and need to be redeveloped, which is ridiculous. They're 25 years old.
Is that 25 years, though?
A home, there's so many homes throughout Greater Vancouver that were built in like the 40s, 50s that are just bulletproof. That will last forever if you want them to. But the 80s, 90s construction
was it just because the materials
like
that they were using?
Yeah, they're cheap.
Wood was different. Lumber was different back then. Everything's cheaper these days. Everything.
Although, well.
Those are dormers.
Okay. Whoa, yeah. You like a real traditional.
I like craftsman.
Craftsman to me is traditional.
I think they're cute.
I think it's cute and I like it.
What's wrong with that?
I like the like.
That would be craftsman.
Yeah. Doesn't that look traditional? Don't you just want a white picket fence with that?
Potentially. But it's pretty cute, right?
Yeah, for sure. I have no problem. I'm all like, if it's done well.
For sure.
They're
cheaper to build than modern.
Really?
Yeah. Because usually modern is like living room main floor is just like one big open space.
Yes.
And so to support that one big open space, you usually, and it depends how big the space is, but you need steel beams to run through the roof.
Yep.
To support the weight. And that's a lot more expensive than like having pillars or more closed off type rooms.
Does Vancouver have any of the, I don't know what they're called. What are those 70s style ones where everything is on one level basically? And they always have those like pitched roofs like that. What the hell are they called? Like if you think about Palm
70s?
Springs, you know, when you think about Palm Springs, those like mid-century.
The Spanish style ones?
Like what are they called? That is a style of house.
That could be mid-century modern.
You like those or no?
I do.
You do, eh?
But I would redo it. But I hate saying mid-century modern because, let's be honest, guys, it's way overused at this point.
It is definitely overused.
It's pretty barfy. But like if you did it right, I think it could look really cool.
Like that?
Yeah.
Mid-century modern. That's
it.
it? Yeah.
Damn.
You know.
There's this guy that, if you like, I don't know if you guys are into like, you know, design and all of those things. There's a guy named Eric Treen on Instagram who he builds furniture and stuff like that. He just flipped one of those houses in California. And I was like, yeah, that's the coolest thing ever. I wish I could do that. You don't see a lot of them in Vancouver, though.
No, there's not as many for sure. I just did a big reno on a craftsman style home in New West.
I think I saw you on Instagram giving a tour.
Mm-hmm.
It looked cool. Yeah.
It came out really good.
So did you do that?
No.
Next one.
Maybe.
I gotta start with changing a doorknob in a door first. And
Yeah.
work my way up.
I mean, it's just you gotta test where someone's skills are at.
Exactly, right?
So yeah, totally. I get it.
Like we signed what did we sign at the beginning? A 3-episode contract just to see how the podcast would turn out?
I guess
Stop.
I passed.
Stop.
I'm joking.
I actually think that's awesome. I was going to have so much respect for that. As a big fan of contracts.
I know you are.
Yeah. I'm all about getting shit in writing. Yeah. That's why I was like, actually, I deeply respect if you did that. That's a good move.
Carl, what do we have in writing?
So what if you don't get a certain amount of views, we cut it?
It should be.
He's like, all I do is edit it. How is this my problem?
Yeah. Your one was a trial run, Carl.
I just edited someone else's voice.
If you're 76 episodes in, you got the job. You're killing it.
I hope so.
Yeah. You're a fixture. You're a staple. You can't do it now without him.
Or his 1-year contract is running out.
Yeah, you should renegotiate.
It's my last month.
You should renegotiate because you're coming up on a year. So come to the meeting prepared with stats on why he needs you to do this.
Oh, he fucking knows I need him. I don't have a clue what he does back there. Seriously, it's
Just
like magic
Adobe
to me.
Audition.
I show up, talk, a week later, it's everywhere.
Stop.
I have no clue.
Can you edit video?
Yeah, we do. We do a video
We do
portion on
everything
YouTube.
YouTube as well.
Do people hire you to do this?
Funny story. They're starting to.
Okay.
It's mostly just through like people that we have on the podcast
Yeah.
who talk about
Yeah.
wanting to start a podcast.
Mhm.
Because
And-
I'm starting to do videos.
And I solicit Carl out to them.
That's a great friend move.
Honestly, I feel like people come on the podcast and they're like, oh, I want to start my own, kind of start looking around and they contact me.
Mhm.
It's a lot.
It's kind of, you have like it's such a great in because honestly, you can be like, for sure, go home and try it. And then
Exactly.
someone's going to get frustrated after approximately 45 minutes and they're going to be like, I need him. I need him. You don't even have to sell yourself. You just have to wait for people to get sick
Do
of it.
it. Do it yourself and here's my number.
Yeah.
He currently does 3,
Okay.
all of which are mine. But I say by this time next year, you are doing like, well, if you want to do them, probably 6.
Mhm.
There's been a few people recently that have
It
emailed.
comes into like interference with my main job. now.
That's what was
Yeah.
going to be my next question. What are your thoughts and feelings on that? Is that something that would
Tell
excite
your dad you need an extended leave of
Yeah,
absence.
no, I'm excited. I think I'm gonna start taking a little bit of time off my main job and start doing this more and more and just see where it goes. But I love construction too. Like I don't know, I want to do it all.
Turn that and just flip it. Turn that into a hobby. I mean, that's like honestly, it's like my partner. He flies planes, like that's his big boy job. But he builds furniture and sells it. So like he has a thing, you know.
I just feel like that construction, like it's so useful in life. Like I've learned so many things, and I just I like being useful.
With the other like potential for a guy like Carl is to start like a consulting, coaching type of business, right? For people wanting to start podcasts,
Mhm.
here's like whatever.
A starter pack.
Yeah.
yeah.
Here's
Yeah.
the bare minimum.
Yeah.
This is the equipment you need. This is how you post to whatever the hell you do on there. This is a
You're
quick
like, I
intro to
literally have
editing.
no idea. Just show up and talk.
No, I have no clue.
No, I'm serious. I'm jealous. That's actually fantastic.
Because then he's not bogged down with this stuff, right? He just focuses on the convo, focuses on the podcast, on the material. And I deal with all this.
You guys have a great setup.
Thank you.
So
Good
far,
for
so
you.
good.
Yeah, no kidding.
Don't steal him.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm like, so the YouTube videos, I know that I hate editing things. What's the turnaround time on that?
The thing with our YouTube is kind of like our podcast. I just put the whole thing up, so it's not too bad.
So wait, do you cut out anything?
Sometimes. We've had a few guests that have
Rarely.
asked us to cut it out.
Don't you love it when people ask you to cut things out?
We've only had 2. 2 out of 75
Yeah.
is not bad.
That's actually not bad. No one walking away being like, what the fuck did I just
Surprisingly, not so much,
Mhm.
no.
Oh,
And it was only because one of the girls we had on worked for a big corporation, and she's just like, I don't know how they're going to perceive that, so let's just take it out, which is fine. But most of the people we have on are self-employed, and so they just don't give a shit.
yeah. That's actually, yeah. This is true. I did an interview once and it was such an awesome interview. I was so stoked on it. And then literally the next day, she was like, you can't post any of that.
Really?
None of it. Can't use it. And I was like, there's nothing that we can use. She's like, no, not a damn thing.
So like, but why? So you get out of the convo and you reflect what you said and you just don't, I don't
Right?
understand. Are you not being yourself?
She worked for the government. And I was like,
But you should kind of know beforehand what you can
Right?
say, right?
You would think so.
Yeah.
But I think what it is sometimes is that I'm so great at getting people to talk that there is a tendency at times to overshare.
Mm,
And I think for people who aren't necessarily, who don't do it all the time,
totally.
aren't used to having those conversations,
For sure.
sometimes they aren't like always aware of what they're saying, and then they leave and there's like a panic moment. But it's funny because I've been on other podcasts and I've signed away basically being like, you can do whatever you want with this. Like,
Really?
I have no say in this.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I guess we have never had that problem. Or we just go the Joe Rogan route and just have everything live stream. So too bad.
Right, yeah, right. You can't edit it then. But like from my understanding of Canadian law and recording, as long as one person knows that the recording is happening, the other person doesn't even need to know. That's why like wiretaps work. But like me as a third person, I wouldn't be able to record both of you and have like other of you not know about it. One of you has to know for it to be legal.
Oh.
Is that correct?
See,
That's my
because
understanding.
That's
or is
crazy.
that law enforcement? You think public? You think I can call someone right now and record the conversation and use it against them?
I feel like
if you're
that
recording-
feels not legal.
Yeah.
You don't
What
think
have you
so?
been doing?
Oh my God.
Carl has a lot of shit he has to delete on there right now.
Because
But how does a wiretap work then?
I don't. That's
You
a
can
good
tap people's
question.
phones, right? The government does that all the time.
Tis true, but I felt like that's because they had some sort of, I don't know.
Warrant situation type thing?
Yes. Like
I don't know.
yes.
But then you'd have to present that warrant to the person you're recording, which would technically make it all void, right?
I guess maybe that's because I record coaching calls
Uh-huh.
with clients so that they can listen back to it again.
Hmm.
But I always I double check. I'm like, just so you know, I'm recording this.
Mhm.
If you don't want me to, I won't. But, I thought I had to make them aware.
Even when you
and get
call
their
like a
agreement.
bank or a big corporation, at the beginning of the call, they say,
We're recording.
this is being recorded.
Yeah,
so maybe
yeah.
you have to let the other person know. Do you have to tell the other person?
But then how does a wiretap once again?
I don't know. Maybe there's different rules for law enforcement or
That's what
some
I
sort
thought
of
they got, like,
paperwork
some
that they
sort
have
of
to go
hall
through to
pass.
prove that
Because like
they need that.
Like I know in a public spot you can't record just random audio. Like for like security cameras, you can't have audio in public places. But if one person knows that the recording's happening, that's my understanding.
Really?
Hmm.
So wait, if I went into public with a recorder and I recorded it.
Yeah, you can do that.
Oh,
They
okay.
can take
I
public
thought you
video.
were like, I can't record in public. And I was like, oh, God. That's weird. But like you can
No,
trick
but
someone into recording.
you can't-
They don't know it.
You wouldn't be able to like leave a camera at a location and have record that conversation with you not being there, being part of the conversation. Does that make sense?
Okay, but wait. So
Mhm.
based on what you're saying, we could effectively collude and trick this guy into saying something.
And release it and ruin his
I'm
life.
hiding
yeah.
nothing. I will say everything right now. Go for it. Ask the question.
I have no
You don't
desire
need
to
to
trick
trick
you. No, I don't want to trick you. I'm good.
Pretty sure everyone knows everything anyway.
Mhm.
Just say things on social media.
Yeah, that's the beauty of social media. At this
Where does
point.
it? Were you always like this, or did you work your way up?
I think I've grown into it a
Yeah.
little bit.
You were more hesitant when you first started.
I was shy as a kid.
Yeah.
Oh, when I started the podcast?
Yeah.
No.
But even like
I was-
being yourself and having just people like think things about you, did that ever bother you?
I learned along the way that I can't let it affect me. Because there's always going to be people that hate.
Always.
And most of the time, it's their insecurities that they're portraying onto other people. And so when I figured that out, I just thought, well, how can I control what someone else is thinking?
Mm-hmm.
So no, not at all anymore.
Whoa.
I'll tell people to go fuck themselves. I don't really care.
Whoa. Good for you.
It took a while.
You don't have moments though
Moments of
where you're like, oh,
Going back, maybe you shouldn't have said that.
yeah.
shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
Or you like post something and you're like,
Not sure. I don't have moments of shouldn't have said that. If it is honest, it's more I could have presented it in a different way. I could have said it differently. So like in the heat of the moment, I'll say honest things that come out as very aggressive when they could have been toned down a little bit and maybe had a better response.
Ooh, yeah. I used to do that a lot.
Mhm.
I used to be aggressive.
Mhm.
I don't know why.
I think that, but in terms of like wishing I could take something back, not that I can remember. If it's honest, why would you want to take it back?
Well, I think kind of what you said, though, is that it could have been received better. So potentially the impact of your words hurt someone.
Mhm.
Even though it's true, if you phrased it better, it could have landed better and therefore not hurt someone's feelings.
Mhm.
That's
But
what
if
I
it's
think
true,
about.
If it's true, they should know about it. Or if it's true, and I'm assuming it's something negative, if it's hurting their feelings, why am I even spending time with that person?
I don't know. But I mean, think about it though.
Mhm.
Think about a friend that you have.
Mhm.
You can love someone and you can totally be behind them. And then
Mhm.
sometimes they just do dumb stuff.
Yep.
And it's funny because I always used to be of the opinion that like, I'm going to tell you how dumb you're being right now.
Mhm.
But most of the time people actually know that they're doing that. So there really isn't much of a need for you to do it unless they're like, what do you think about this thing that I'm doing? In which case, open season, you asked, so
Sure.
now I'm going to tell you.
Yeah. I
And be
agree.
thoughtful about it.
I totally agree with that. I'm hesitant to give opinions unless people are asking me for them. Right? Like not everything I do in business and personal life is going to work for someone else,
Yes.
but I feel like I'm on this road to figuring out how it all works for me.
Mm.
So I'm happy to share experiences and setbacks that I've had and how I've got through them.
Mhm.
If someone wants to take something away from that, great. But in terms of like, if I see someone doing something wrong, I'm not going out of my way to say, I do it like this, you should do it like this.
That's good.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. What have been some of your biggest learning lessons?
Ooh,
On the
I
spot.
like how we turn this around here. Good thing I made this fucking note.
It's not on there.
Sarah's interviewing you now.
First big learning lesson back probably to sports in grade 11 or 12. I was a pretty good basketball player growing up, played provincial team. We lost in the national championship by 2. I was one of the best players in the tournament. I got a first team all-star and I scored 0 points in the final. So I must have had a decent tournament. So that was a big learning lesson. Just figuring out that,
Failure?
well, sports was my identity growing up.
Okay.
100%.
Yep.
I didn't know anything else. And so looking back, it kind of helped me figure out that there's other good qualities about me than just basketball. It was tough though.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't an easy thing to get
I mean,
through.
losing. Growing up, I danced competitively and I played soccer competitively.
Mhm.
And I'm just a competitive person.
Mhm.
Yeah, when you lose, and especially when you lose when you're younger, for some reason, it just feels like all that much more heartbreaking.
I was such
You're
a
like
bad loser
devastated.
too.
Oh, I know.
I'm much better now.
I don't know that I am. I'm going to be honest with you. I go home and I take the L, but I go home and I'm like upset about it. That's why my family doesn't play board games anymore. Like, people care.
I've thrown little
Monopoly.
pieces of what's that cranium? Pieces of cranium into a lit fire.
I was going to say risk because that ruins friendships. But
That and Monopoly.
Monopoly,
is just like to end everything. I flipped over a table once playing Monopoly with my brother and my family. I was pissed.
I'm super happy that you brought that up. Just the board game thing. Because I remember I was probably like 14. I was playing chess. I for some reason, I really got into chess when I was 14.
I respect that.
And I had it was like a little foldable table where the pieces go inside. I was playing against my brother. I don't know if I thought he cheated or something happened.
Always that.
Always.
And I snapped the board in half. And I didn't play chess anymore. That was the end of my chess career.
Don't you love it though? You're like, that is a bit, I got carried away. But there's just, and it's interesting too though, because I don't know if you've ever lose that competitive
I don't think
edge.
so.
Like,
You
I
learned
think
to
you're
handle
always-
it better. Yeah.
if you're just born that way, you're just always going to be competitive. You learn how to maybe like deal with it a little bit better, but you still care a lot. Even if people are like, this is a casual game of whatever. You're like, I want to beat
There's
you.
no such thing as casual.
Yeah.
Even just, so that game, that national championship, you get a silver medal. And I fucking hate silver medals. It's such garbage. Why do they even give them out, Carl? Yeah. I remember getting it and they have to put it around your neck. And I just grabbed it from the guy and walked off the court and just kind of chucked it at the wall.
Ooh.
The coach wasn't happy about that.
Unsportsmanlike conduct.
The game was over. Doesn't matter.
I mean, I at least took my medals and was like, oh, I would go home and cry.
I didn't want it to go on. For some reason, I didn't want it to go on my head.
I would just go home and cry.
If you had your mindset now, would it be different or would it be the same? With your ability to deal with losses right now, would you accept the silver medal or would you still toss it?
Well, the good thing about business is they don't give out shit medals like silver.
Thanks for coming out.
I wish they gave you a participation badge. Some days you're like, that's all I want. I am out here participating. Give me some recognition.
Are you talking about Carl specifically?
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, just in general, like business, I wish you got a participation badge.
Do you?
I would, yes. Yes.
I don't know how I feel
when
about
you
that.
said that, when you asked that question, the very first thing that popped into my head is like, you, in some form or another, not every day, but I mean, at least every week or a month or like you're taking losses.
Oh yeah.
As running your own business. And so like I loved that question. I thought that was a fantastic question because honestly, you have to get better at losing when you're running your own business. I know that sounds weird, but it's like you have to be able to come back from that and handle it better.
Because you have to lose a lot to be successful, right?
You kind of do.
I think you always are losing.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is losing. It sounds.
So you just get better at it.
Sounds very negative. You just use losses to propel you forward.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's difficult. Every business is a little bit different. From a real estate perspective, sure, there's wins. Selling a property is a win. Sure, you get paid. But like throughout one transaction, there's so many losses that result to one smaller win. So I feel like
Elaborate on that.
Well, even like going into a listing appointment, we don't get all listing appointments. So some listing appointments are losses. Some listing appointments we don't want, but some listing appointments are losses. Then once the transaction actually happens, there's a ton of communication with clients and there's always room for improvement on how you relay information to someone. So like every single day is a learning process, just in terms of like, because everyone receives information so differently. Mm-hmm. The way I tell Carl about how his open house went would be different than the way I tell you about how your open house went. Just based on how you're going to receive information. If I tell Carl, we had a super busy open house, there's 15 groups that came through. 7 of them said they absolutely loved it. Maybe Carl is the type of person that assumes that means we're getting multiple offers. Mm-hmm. This is super real estate specific, but in a market like today, that doesn't mean anything. So just learning how to communicate to different people so that what you're trying to get across actually gets across, rather than them picking out 1 or 2 words that you said in a specific way and assuming something else.
I don't think that's real estate specific.
You're right, but that example was obviously very real estate specific.
I've managed a ton of different humans, and every time it's just like, who knows what I'm walking into? I'm saying the same thing to everyone, but they're all walking away with a very different feeling, and for some reason, a different interpretation of the thing that I said. That's a fantastic skill to have, honestly, to be able to understand like what style of communication this person needs from me. Yeah. So that my message lands the right way.
How do you go about finding that out?
Oh God. It's not really
I've gotten so much better at this. Okay. But I want to hear your answer first.
A lot of failing. Okay. Not to just like come full circle on the failing bit, but I remember when I first started managing people, I really honestly, like there was, first and foremost, I had no leadership style. So I was just behaving a certain way because I truly thought that was the way to do it, which was this like very robotic, unemotional, kind of detached, just like do it because I said so kind of mentality. And there wasn't any taking into consideration who someone is or their history or any of those things.
Totally.
And honestly, not even just the common courtesy of asking someone, hey, how do you like to receive feedback? Or like, what's the best way for me to communicate with you? I just didn't even give anyone that common courtesy.
Yeah.
So I think that has obviously changed a lot. But I think now when I'm talking to someone, so much of what you said at the beginning of us, even just talking about how do you interview someone better, this right here is like fantastic practice because you're observing them. So like from the very first moment that I start talking to someone, I'm like, oh, okay, like what's this person like? What are they doing? How are they carrying themselves? If I'm like a little bit louder, do I notice that they're like coming to meet me at that level? Or are they someone who's like, oh God, that's a lot. And then I'm like, cool, I'm gonna have to take it down. We're gonna take it down.
Totally.
So it's just this like weird kind of like volleying, like tennis, like I'm giving you something and I'm going to see how I'm getting that back. And then I'm adjusting based on what they're doing. And that unfortunately is just something that you have to like trial and error
for sure
to be able to figure out, which is kind of cool and also uncomfortable sometimes because
at the beginning, extremely uncomfortable.
Oh, so bad. So bad. I've made a lot of people cry. I came in real hot and heavy. Funny story, I've actually made more men cry than women cry. Don't know why. Yeah.
How do you make it? What?
In business meetings?
Yes.
What are you saying, these people?
In my office, I've made more men cry.
Like clients?
Yeah.
Huh.
Right? And old employees.
You know what? A lot of men are soft. And okay, what I'm saying,
I don't know.
Let me expand.
Whoa.
Let me expand.
Which I support men being soft.
Soft emotionally. And what I mean by that is like society has taught us that men need to have this facade. You need to, everything needs to bounce off you kind of thing. Whereas I think a lot of us, I'm one included, should be able to express emotion better.
Yes.
And I'm trying. Podcast helps.
I would imagine it probably would.
But maybe women are just,
if you want to cry.
Oh, I might. Maybe the women are just more comfortable with it.
You know, you want to know what it is? This is my theory. I think that a lot of guys have very rarely have a woman come up to them and tell them that what they're doing just isn't good enough.
Yeah.
And I think for some reason when that happens, brains just implode. They're like, what? What do you mean? And I won't even say that's necessarily exclusive to men because that's unfair. There is something like very interesting with millennials that I've noticed where there very much is a desire to have that participation badge. Like the fact that I tried I showed up and I tried. Like, give me my gold star. And my whole thing is like, it's great that you showed up. I am acknowledging your effort, but unfortunately, the effort doesn't always correlate to results. And I think, that's a hard pill to swallow. And especially if you've never had anyone tell you that.
But before you said you liked the idea of participation medals.
I know, because now I've gotten softer. the old, like, I do, but I also, this is my thing, and I know it sounds like in a weird way contradictory. I always want to congratulate someone for showing up, and I will always acknowledge someone's effort. But the reality is that effort does not always correlate to results.
Sure.
Because sometimes that effort is misguided.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's what I was going to say.
I even think about that for my own business. Like, oh, cool. So I've been working for myself for a little over 2.5 years. There have absolutely been moments in time where I felt like I was working my goddamn ass off. Did that correlate to any type of results? No, because I was misguided. I was wasting my time doing shit that I did not need to do or going in a completely wrong direction or an unfocused direction. So like, yes, I want a participation badge because I freaking showed up and I was trying, but it just wasn't right. So, whatever, you move on.
You look like you had something to say. Oh, all right. We're talking about reading people.
Mm-hmm.
What I feel like I've gotten much better at in the last few years. Listing appointments are intimidating. Any sales pitch is intimidating, especially early in your career. And you over prepare in terms of like stats and, writing out things that you want to say or want to get across. But what I've found so valuable is just starting conversations with questions. Number one, people like talking about themselves.
That's my number. Yeah. Everyone loves talking
So
about
asking
themselves.
questions,
Actually,
real estate specific again, is just like the first thing I'll say when I walk into a listing appointment is, have you sold before? If the answer is yes, amazing, because I'm going to get so much information from that next like 3 or 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
What was your last selling experience like? How was the realtor that you hired?
Mm-hmm.
Did they communicate well?
Mm-hmm.
How long did it take to sell? What was that experience like? Did you get feedback after showing, just like continuous questions. And often you don't even need to ask many questions. Once you ask them, what was that previous sales experience or sale like? They'll talk for 15 minutes. They'll say, well, I really liked this. I didn't like having open houses because all my neighbors came through. I felt like the agent didn't give us much feedback after showing, like they'll just talk right away. And so when someone says, I didn't get enough feedback after showings, in my head, I'm like, communication is super important to them. I'm going to talk to them about how we communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they say like, we're on market 60 days, we never got an update on what was going on in the neighborhood. Perfect. Analytics are important to them. They want to see a weekly list of what is sold, anything else that's come on the market that week in their neighborhood, whatever. So listening, I guess, would be a summary.
And knowing your audience, because it's really funny. I kind of like gave a very informal coaching session to someone who was like, I want to be able to pitch better. You've done a ton of public speaking and a ton of talking. Can you just please help me do this better? And so much of what I was saying is like yes, prepare to a certain point.
Sure.
You want to anticipate what you're walking into. So what you want to know, is this someone who is all about the numbers and the facts? So I need to make sure that I have those at the ready, that I can kind of just like recite these things, because that makes them feel like I know what I'm talking about.
For sure.
Or am I trying to sell someone on this fantasy, this like dream? Which is kind of, I think, the interesting thing about being a realtor, because you kind of have to like weave both of those in, right?
Absolutely.
Because your ability to recite facts is what people go like, oh, well, he really knows what he's talking about. But at the end of the day, a home is so emotional for people.
Absolutely.
So you have to be able to kind of tap into that and be able to lean into that whole.
Depends who it is too, right? If someone's been in their house for 30 years and they raised their family there, like it is a very emotional thing.
Yes.
Whereas like one of the listing appointments we walked into recently, one of the first things she said to us was, we've interviewed other realtors. The last realtor just told us too many things. He showed us like 38 different listings that are available in this neighborhood right now. And we feel like 2 of them had any similarities to ours. So right away, I'm like, okay, no data, done. Let's move on. What else is important? And so picking up on those little things early builds the connection because they feel like they're being heard, right?
Yes.
Rather than just, here's my big sales pitch. Do you like it or not?
Yes. Also, you have to know, though, that you're like not for everyone.
Absolutely.
Which is kind of empowering in a way.
Absolutely.
Where you're like, oh, that's okay. Like my personality is not for everyone. I literally was telling someone this morning, that now when I interview clients or have any kind of like first 30-minute call, whatever, it's more or less me being like, honestly, this is how I am. What do you need and what do you like? Because yes, I have the ability to adjust, make small adjustments, but I'm going to be who I am. So if that's not going to work for you.
One of my first very memorable meetings for real estate. I've been in real estate for 5.5 years, maybe. I met with one of the managing brokers at Sutton, which was the brokerage we were with, a couple months in. Just asking a bunch of questions. How's it going? Blah, blah, blah. And he says, what's your goal going into a listing appointment? I'm like, I want to get a listing. He's like, wrong. He's like, your goal should be going into a listing appointment. Is this client the right client for you? And do you want to work with them? which like just completely reframes your mindset going into those appointments.
Yeah, it absolutely does. But it's also interesting too, because I think until you have a really clear idea of the type of people that you want to work with,
For sure.
yes, you're just saying yes to a lot of things. But, and again, this was part of the conversation that I had this morning, is now I know if someone's not willing to talk about budget right up front or tell me and be open and honest, like, hey, I only have $2,000 to give you, but I would so love to have you create something. I'm that much more willing, because I'm like, oh, this is someone who's willing to kind of show up, tell it like it is, be honest, transparent, which are all kind of part of my value system. I'm so much more willing to work for someone like that versus the person who's like, I don't know, wanting to negotiate or never name a price until I name a price, which is kind of my pet peeve.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm setting myself up to fail. Like, they're not even going to tell me what they want. I'm just over here trying to guess. Like, no, I'm not going to set myself up to fail. So
same in our industry is not often. I'd say it's like 1 or 2 out of 10 appointments now where you walk in and one of the first things they'll say is, what do you charge? Like, what's your commission? And so we'll tell them. And they're like, we want a discount. How about X of this? And we're like, you haven't even heard what we have to say yet. You don't even know what we offer. You don't know like our tracker. You don't know anything about us.
yeah,
And you're already asking for discount. Maybe our services are extremely undervalued.
yeah,
If you would actually listen to all the things that we have to say.
I know.
But if you're just so concerned about like what you're going to be spending on something and the result of what you're spending on that something doesn't matter,
Yeah.
then maybe we're not the right group to work with you.
Have you ever had to fire? Do you guys fire clients?
Occasionally.
I've
Yeah.
had to fire clients.
Occasionally. Like
Story time.
more specific a specific example recently I can't remember of, but it's for us it's more just saying no to listings.
Okay.
So like someone will say, yes, we want to work with you, but we want to list at this. And we're like, it doesn't make sense there. Work with someone else. But in terms of like actually firing someone once we take them on, rarely. Not often. Maybe once or twice a year, but not often.
Oh, that's not that bad.
No, it's not.
How do you feel about doing
We
that?
have to be chameleons, right?
But here's the thing though. I mean, maybe because my line of work, like, I can't be a chameleon.
Sure.
Like, I can to a certain extent.
Mhm.
Yes. I am adaptable.
Mhm.
I can function in a lot of different environments.
Yeah.
If you want me to speak about business things, that's cool. I'll use all of the business terms. If you want me to not use any business terms and be super casual, that's cool too. I can do that. But I'm also always going to be me.
Yeah.
So to a certain extent, I really can't be a chameleon. I can't do those things. Like, what you see is what you're going to get.
And it's not adjusting like how we present properties, how we are at open houses, how we talk to buyers as they walk through the door. It's more just how information is relayed back. Like I said before, some people want to see those analytics every week. What's going on in the neighborhood? Why haven't they sold? They've been on market 3 weeks. Why haven't they sold? Where others more just want the relationship, right? They want to be communicated with every day or every second day or whatever it is. So it's more just listening to people, understanding what they would like from
If
you.
people take anything away from this, listen.
It's the biggest thing. It is, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's 90% of what I do. So, yeah, I'm very much in agreement. But I want to know, was there one client interaction where you did something that you walked away saying, hot damn, I would never do that again?
Oh, I'm sure there's lots. Coming to mind, probably just being defensive, like especially in slow markets, clients will, it's always the realtor's fault. Their property isn't sold. It's been on market 3 weeks. A year and a half ago, when the market was crazy, their neighbor sold in 3 days. Why hasn't mine sold in 3 days? So I think it's more just like keeping emotions under control when someone is verbally attacking you. And that happens fairly often right now. Just to understand that.
He goes home and cries. I'm kidding.
I don't know if I've ever cried by something a client has said to me. I've definitely taken it to heart, but not. I don't know
See,
if I've
there you go. Feel those feelings.
cried. At the end of the day, I think the reason that I don't take it too seriously when being attacked is that I know I'm doing things the right way. We market better than most. I'd put our marketing up against anyone in Greater Vancouver in terms of how we present properties online, how we gain more exposure to our listings than anyone else. So I know that we're doing things the right way. It's just, I can't control that the NDP puts in a 20% foreign buyer tax that slows the market. I can't control that the stress test comes in. Like all these things are outside of our control that are slowing market conditions down. And so we can market something extremely well and it still might take 60 days to sell. It's just not a quick moving market. So understanding that we are doing things the right way. But obviously real estate is very emotional for a lot of people. And
Which I understand.
The one individual who they can verbally throw their frustrations out to is the person that is selling it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of like one thing about, I mean, obviously at the very start of my career, I was in customer service. That was kind of the one thing that I do not miss. I don't miss being verbally assaulted every day.
I know.
That's not fun.
I was in Starbucks the other day and I think they had two coffee machines. One of them was not working and one of the people behind the bar was on the phone with someone, like I guess trying to get a tech to come down and fix it. So there was a bit of a wait for coffee. And when I say a bit of a wait, instead of like 2 minutes for a latte, it was like 5 minutes. So it wasn't that bad. And one lady was furious. And in those situations, I always feel like I need to say something.
Please, yes, please. No more bystanders.
Right?
Yes.
Ooh.
And I have done it at airports, actually.
Really? You just call people out?
One guy was losing his shit on some WestJet guy.
Usually, yeah. Please.
The people that you're talking to often have zero responsibility in terms of how the problem can be solved, right? So like with this WestJet guy, a flight coming back to Vancouver had been delayed.
Yep.
And we had a layover in Toronto. And the flight out of Toronto was supposed to be at like, I don't know, it was like a late flight, 9:30 p.m. or something. But we didn't get into Toronto until like 10:30. So obviously we missed that flight.
Yeah.
And there wasn't any more flights. So at the WestJet counter, they're like, here's a list of hotels. We're really sorry. We'll book you on the next flight in the morning, but like you have to stay overnight. And this one guy was furious that WestJet would not pay for his hotel. And the guy behind the counter is just like, I'm really sorry. Like, you know, I'll give you a list of like the cheapest hotels in the neighborhood, but it's the WestJet policy that we don't pay for hotels. And he's he's like swearing, yelling at this guy. And I go and put my hand around his shoulder. I'm like, man, you know that this guy has absolutely no pull in terms of giving you a free hotel, right?
Yeah.
You're just losing your mind for no reason. If you have a real problem, like call the 1-800 number, wait on the phone for 45 minutes, then you can talk to someone who might be able to escalate it.
What do you say to you?
Oh, you just told me to fuck off and,
Really?
and left, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But it got him out. And there was a line of like 30 people trying to get their flights switched. So at least they moved the line a little bit faster.
Well, that's good. Because it's ridiculous. Like, please always step in and just.
Do you have a story?
So many. Are you kidding me? If you work any amount of time in customer service,
For sure.
it's just like wild things are going to happen to you. So when I had just graduated from high school, I was working at a UPS store, which packages.
Yep.
People get very upset about packages. I had a guy, I swear to God, it was probably like the 22nd or 23rd of December. And obviously your package is not going to get there for Christmas, sir. And he literally came across the counter.
No way.
If it wasn't for someone else being in the store, grabbing him, being like, relax, you need to leave. At the time, I was like 18. Yeah. And this guy was furious. Another time at a clothing store, I had a guy, I would not refund him. What was it? I don't know, something like $20 or $40 for a pair of denim that he owned for a year that he felt like
Probably worn and washed.
weren't cutting it,
Yeah.
and he wanted his money back. Obviously, I can't do that. And again, I got called the C word. I got called a bitch. Just like everything under the sun that you could think to call someone, he called me. And it's like, when you think about it, you're like, $40, hey? That's why we're doing this. That's why we're behaving like this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because there's just something about customer service where it really makes you lose faith in humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Because for some reason, people just start behaving in the wildest ways where you're like, I thought we were better than this.
Do you ever try to think of it the other way and in like a more empathetic way and think of what, like, I feel bad that this person is struggling with something so bad that they're taking it out on me, who literally has nothing to do with them?
I think it takes me a really long time to get to that point. So I'm going to be honest with you. I know this about myself now, and I'm totally comfortable saying this. I'm super sensitive. So working in those kinds of environments is why I kind of started behaving in a certain way. So that's where I started getting that like tough shell and started to act like nothing mattered to me or bothered me, and like, I don't give a shit, and and that kind of started to spill into my personal life, to be totally honest. But it was because of that I tried to develop that. But really, truly, it was like, it does not feel good.
No.
And in time, if you gave me 2 days, I would be like, yes, it is sad that that person did that. But at the time, I'm like, oh, that sucks. That hurt my feelings. You just called me so many names in front of everyone.
I bartended for 5 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're laughing. Yeah.
People would tell me all the time. They would be like, Sarah, you should be a bartender. You just got it. I think you could do it. And I'd be like, dear God.
Socially,
no.
you dominate. You do really well.
I think I would. I think I'm charming enough.
You are charming.
And I think I'm like good enough to be like, shut up. But I also just don't. I just like know that I would be like, oh, that sucked.
Like, there'd be ridiculous things that people send back drinks and just be like, this is not a double. You're like, it's a double, you drunk fuck. Yeah, it is.
But actually, though,
and then the next drink, they'd watch you pour them. They'd watch you pour the shots in.
True
is
story.
That a double? They're like, give it more. I'm like,
I had a friend who owned a bar, and the way I said bar really makes me sound like I'm from Alberta. I hear myself sometimes. This is where I think people are getting it. But no, I had a friend who did, and he told me that there were times where if someone came in and they were a little too intoxicated, he's like, I have bottles that are not straight liquor.
okay.
I've diluted them to, make them feel like they're getting the shot that they've ordered without actually giving them the shot, because at that point they don't know. And I was like, lies.
Yeah, you need to be careful with that because that's illegal.
Is it?
Yeah, you can't serve someone water and charge them for vodka.
What about if it's like a mixture?
Well, first of all, you're not supposed to mix.
Fair play. I respect that.
And I think it's BC Liquor Board is super strict on you can't have pre-mixed stuff because there's no way of them telling how much alcohol you actually put in. So you can't have like a pre-mixed whatever vodka, orange juice drink that you just have in a big bottle that you just pour as a full drink. You have to actually mix the drinks to show that you're actually putting
like
in
the old Red Bull and vodka or whatever the hell god awful mixture that was. Do you guys remember those days?
Oh yeah,
of course.
I was like, am I older than you?
No, I feel like
that?
we're this.
Do you remember that
roughly the same
heyday?
age?
I had that drink once.
Red Bull vodka? Oh yeah, multiple times.
One time.
It was never a good idea.
Never again. Just one drink though, and I went to lay my head on my pillow that night, and I was like,
There would be people.
Never do that again.
There'd be people that come into the bars and order double vodka Red Bull all night. Have like 9 of them.
How do you even do that?
I don't know.
Did you do that?
no, never. Just
You seem like a
bombs.
mellow guy.
Just Jaeger bombs.
Of course.
Carl would have 9 Jaeger bombs.
That's such like a 2009, 2010 kind of a. I used to do that too. I don't know why. That's awful. Awful.
What do kids drink now, Carl?
I don't know. What is it? Like those nude drinks, those soft vodka drinks?
At bars?
I don't know.
Do they sell those at bars?
There's got to be shots.
Probably. They're so popular everywhere.
I don't go out anymore.
Neither do I.
Whiskey shots?
I like breweries. That's all.
We're like collectively, yeah.
No, I go out. I'm not going to Caprice anymore. Is that even open?
Is
I don't
that-
know.
Wait, did you grow up here?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Where?
In the suburbs. I went to high school in Burnaby.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
What about you?
Same thing.
We went
the
to
same
high school together.
Oh, for God's sake, you guys. Well, so this is like a long running.
We've
Is this like grade
rekindled our
7?
relationship, yeah.
Yep.
As you can tell, Carl is aggressively tall.
Did you wait? You played
We
basketball.
played
together.
basketball together, yeah.
I did comment on that. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you probably lost touch after high school.
Mhm.
Wow. Yeah, we did.
Yep.
You know our whole story.
I don't speak to anyone I went to high school with.
Really?
Really?
No.
That's.
You were going to say that's weird.
No, I don't
It's okay.
know.
You
I don't
say
think
it.
it's weird. I
I
think
don't
a
think
lot
it's
of people
weird.
are like that.
I think we're unique.
You guys are unusual.
We had
a lot of my friends from high school. I don't
we had
know.
a strange high school. It was really small. There was like 100 kids in our graduating class.
That is quite tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, my graduating class was larger than that.
What high school?
St. Albert Catholic High School.
We went to Catholic high school in Burnaby.
Here's a funny story though. I'm not baptized.
You didn't,
I'm
you didn't
also
have to
not
be at our
religious.
school either.
I'm not religious at all. I truly do not know why my parents did that to
Just
me.
because it's a private school, so it's fancier,
Maybe
better
they-
education.
Mine wasn't
more
private,
disciplined
though.
even.
Really?
Yeah, so there's no private schools where I'm from. When I moved,
Oh,
it wasn't until
interesting.
I thought private schools were a US, like a United States kind of a deal. I didn't think we had them until I moved here. And then people were like, oh, private school is fancy. And I was like, what?
Well, some
This
of them
exists?
are fancy. Ours was not fancy at all.
Did you guys have uniforms?
Yes.
we
Well,
had a
see?
dress code.
we had dress code, yeah.
Wait,
So like
which is
khakis
different.
and a polo.
Yeah, you could wear whatever
that's
khakis
a
you want.
uniform. That's a uniform.
No, but some of the, like St. George's, you have to wear a tie with the same sweater with the same white shirt
Every time.
What did the girls wear?
and dress shoes.
They can wear pants or skirts or whatever.
Yeah, just
So
basically just
dress
not
code, I guess, even
jeans.
an option.
Whoa, yeah. See, I didn't have any of that. That would not have gone over well for me.
But you got to decide what to wear every morning.
That's what I loved. I did go into fashion after high school. And then I realized that it's obviously an awful industry to work in. But I was very into it. So that would have been not great. No, I wouldn't have liked that. Having to take religion class was enough for me. I took it in summer school to get it over with. And I made sure to tell the teacher that I was an atheist.
That went over well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Perfect. Let's
So the
just give
max
her a
grade
B
you
and
can
move
get
on.
is-
Yeah, they were
Just
like,
leave her on the side.
she's going to stir the pot. We're just going to, whatever, Sarah.
I like the confidence though.
Yeah.
Day one.
I was kind of delusional when I was younger. To be honest, I think I was more confident when I was like so not, I don't know where I was living, but I was very confident. And then something happened when I turned about 28. I was like, oh no, what the fuck am I doing with my life? And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I don't know anything anymore. I'm questioning all of these things.
So it goes from what the fuck am I doing with my life to I should teach other people how to run their businesses.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Luckily, I can help other people. It's mostly myself sometimes, like most humans, right? Where you're like, I can help you, but I sometimes can't help myself. And it wasn't necessarily like, what am I? It was more like, that's when I decided to stop working for corporate companies.
Mhm.
So that was when I had my table flip moment. And with zero plan, just walked into work one day and said, I cannot do this for a second longer. Type up my I quit letter, sent it, had no backup plan, and just walked right out that door. That was my like, what am I doing?
That was
You
pretty
were just-
similar to me.
You're just past that point, right? You couldn't do it anymore at all, no matter what.
Yes. And I should have left so much sooner than I did. It had to get really, really bad. Like there was a lot of things that happened in that work environment that were what I would call even borderline abusive, like mentally abusive. And that I just put up with because, to be honest, I was really chasing a title at one point in my life. I was so close to becoming a director. And I had felt like, well, for the last at that point, it was like 7 years of me grinding away, working 70-hour weeks to try and get that director title. And for some reason, I felt like that would really validate everything that I was doing. And I was like, you know what, just hold on. You can get that director title. And then I was just like, who are you kidding, Sarah? You're never going to get it with these people. They treat you like shit. And do you really want to work for people? I'm not the kind of person I'm not a great employee. I don't like working for other people. I ask too many questions.
So from that point you left and you've been working for yourself ever since?
Yes. True story.
Nice.
Yeah. And it was funny because that kind of happened on accident. That was not a plan.
Why? I like this because I think the exact same way. Why do you think you're not a good employee? Because for me, I think I need something motivating me.
Mm-hmm.
And so a $50,000 a year salary to me is not motivating.
Mm-hmm.
So I need something where the harder I work, the more effort I put in can be rewarded. Yeah.
I agree with you to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the reason why I felt like I was not a great employee, and I know I'm not a great employee for most people. I'm just too much of a whistleblower. I really, I do. I interrogate. I wouldn't even say I ask a lot of questions. Like when it came to my superiors, my style was less of I'm asking questions and more of I'm interrogating why we're doing this. And I'm not great at playing the game, which I hate using that. But for my entire life, that was all everyone ever said to me. So, even me in post-secondary, it was like, Sarah, play the game. Like your teachers would like you if you just played the game. And, working in the corporate world, it was like, Sarah, just play the game. Your bosses would like you so much more if you just played the game. I can't fucking play the game. If I don't like what you're doing and I don't agree with it, I really can't go along with it. Like I have to say something. And I think for a lot of people, and certainly the people that were managing me who weren't secure in what they were doing, it just was like, it was more hassle than it was reward.
One of the most frustrating things for me when I was working for a big corporation was that's our policy.
And that's it.
No, but it doesn't make any sense. Like the customers are upset.
Right.
I can do this another way that's going to make them happy. No, that's our policy. Why? It's the policy.
Right?
It's not an answer.
It's not. It's not. I get so annoyed when process is valued more than people are valued. And I think that was always my biggest frustration is that all of those companies tout themselves, and most companies tout themselves as companies that truly value people, which I love, obviously. That's like catnip for me. I freaking love people. I want to help all of the people. But when you really get into it, they value people until it's inconvenient to value people. And that's where I was just like, yeah, I can't do this because you guys are never going to. I think when you get that big, unfortunately, it becomes far more about numbers than it ever becomes about people. There's very few companies out there that truly are kind of walking the walk in that respect. Yeah. And so that's where I was like, nah, I just can't do this. I'm never going to find somewhere where I'm going to be happy. You might, check off a couple of those boxes, but truly, you're never going to really satisfy those things.
Like a year and a half into my real estate career, my business partner and I don't know what we're doing. We're chatting about something and he like starts laughing and I'm like, what? He's like, we're virtually unemployable now.
Yeah.
And I look at him and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, he's like, in no circumstance for the rest of my life, if I want to go out for a hike at 11 a.m. with my dogs, am I not going to do that because someone's telling me I can't do it? We'll work till 2 a.m., but the structure of the day, I just can't do it.
Right?
I can't do the 9 to 5. I can't like look forward to the Friday afternoon. I tried it. It wasn't me.
Even if your work is done, you have to stay there. Right? You just have to get your freaking hours in and pretend you're doing something. And that's so soul killing.
I mean, which is like not always a bummer for me because to be honest, I was surrounded by so many people all the time that I'd be like, I'm going to go talk to people. I'm coaching them. which is funny, but I very much agree with you, but I do have to say it honestly. So yes. So what did I just say? 2.5 years of me working for myself. Honestly, wasn't until maybe about 6 months ago that I kind of started to embrace the whole.
Totally.
I get to make my own schedule. And if that means on a Tuesday, I really don't feel like doing anything, I don't do anything on the Tuesday. But on the Saturday, who knows if the mood strikes, I'll get a bunch of work done.
Yeah.
It honestly, it took me a very long time to kind of like get over that Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. These are the hours that I work mentality. Or even the fact that I have to work 5 days a week. It's and sometimes I still feel really guilty if I don't. If I'm not putting in the hours or I'm not doing something, I'm like, Sarah, you're being a lazy piece of shit. Get in there and do it. I'm finally starting to be able to be like, no.
Took me a while too. And it caused a lot of anxiety early in my career. Just like that voice in the back of my head all the time. And I was a workaholic in the first few years of real estate. And even on like Sundays when we work 7 days a week.
Yeah, you guys do. It's very much a weekend kind of gig, isn't it?
It's a 365 day a year kind of gig. Even if you're out of town, like your phone is on all the time. You're on emails all the time. So like a day off out of town is like 2 to 5 hours of work.
Okay.
It doesn't really exist days off. I'm starting to like get to the point in my career where I can do it a little bit.
Could you carve that out?
Could you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you absolutely could.
But that email might always come in, right?
Exactly. Early in my career, I never wanted to miss one opportunity. Just the deal was too important. Like if I lost one deal, it was a big deal. Whereas 5 years in now, losing one deal, one paycheck a year, is that going to make a big difference in my lifestyle? Probably not. So I'm less anxious on that one phone call. If there's a voicemail at 6 p.m. on a Sunday, probably answering it tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Whereas like I would call back every single time right away for 3 years at least.
Do you not get to set those boundaries?
Oh, you do. I just didn't want to.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to. I was like too motivated to get established.
Which is fair. Which is very fair.
It was insanity.
I don't want to do that. I have no desire to do that.
It probably took years off my life, to be honest.
I think I just did that. I did that too much in my in my previous work.
Yeah.
Where I was traveling a lot. I was like, there was a year where I was maybe home for like 8 days out of that entire year. There was just a lot. There was, and I'll never forget this because I fainted. I worked for 3 months without taking a single day off, working minimum 12 hours a day, most likely 16 hours a day. I just was so in it. And then I remember one day like standing up and I was so tired. I was so exhausted. I was so overworked and I wasn't taking care of myself. And I just stood up and I just like fell right back down. And that's where I was like, I don't think I can do this anymore. I know my mind thinks I can because I'm really good at just like going.
Totally.
And like not stopping until things are done. But I think now I just care way too much about myself to do something like that for another person.
There was a point I said last night on the podcast too, but it is relevant, so I might as well bring it up.
Yeah.
A couple of years, it was probably 2 or 3 years ago. So let's say like 3 years into my career, I show up at a listing or at a appointment to show a buyer a property. The other realtor's there. Walk up to the front door. My clients aren't there yet, so I just say hi to her. She looks at me. She's like, "You look terrible." Like, oh, that's a nice way to say hi. Thanks.
Yeah.
She's just like, seriously, you've lost a lot of weight. I'm like, oh, all right. I didn't even notice. But it's just like in the middle of that grind, you just don't.
No.
Every day's a blur.
It is by. Though. But it's, and I get that sometimes you kind of have to like head down, get things done. And I just think that that's in any, whether you're working for yourself or you're working for someone else, it's just, that's the name of the game sometimes. Yeah. But the thing that I do think is sad about that, or certainly I think that about my own experience, is that I really wasn't and like it sounds super cheesy and blech, I hate saying it, but like you're not really like absorbing what is going on around you. You're not taking a second to kind of appreciate what you're currently doing.
For sure.
And for me, I was fortunate enough to be able to travel to so many places and work. So, you know, I was able to like live in New York for a little bit and live in Toronto for a little bit and live in San Francisco for a little bit. I was able to do all those like really awesome things, but I wasn't even going out. Like I was not taking a moment to stop and appreciate the places that I was in or what I was doing. I just was so heads down focused, which I think is kind of sad. Like, don't you want to appreciate every kind of milestone along the way? I think you should.
I think there's value in it, but I also, like, looking at my experience specifically, I don't think I'd be where I am today if it wasn't like that for 3 years. I don't think I'd be in the same position.
I'm so interested in that because I think this is like kind of the question, right? Are we able to have a balance? And I think even using that word sometimes, balance is like kind of bullshit because is balance ever actually possible? But
and
are
what does
you
it mean,
able
right?
to
it's different to everyone.
But are you able to have a certain amount of, I don't know, sanity or be healthy and build the career you want? Because I think where everyone is told right now that to have the career that you want, to be able to be successful, you have to like grind. And I think, I don't know, like you're saying that, but we really couldn't ever know. Maybe you could have.
But define healthy? What's healthy? Because I think what a work-life balance, I fucking hate that term, but
right?
It is what it is.
I think everyone's sick of it.
Come up with something better.
I know, right? That's why I didn't say where I was like, sanity, healthfulness.
Yeah. It's something different for you than it is for me.
Yes.
And for Carl, right? It's totally different. So if I look back, I don't really regret anything. And those for me, it was probably 3 hours of 3 years of 16 hours a day times 7 days a week times like 10 months a year. Because August and December are a lot slower for us in real estate, but January to June are just insanity.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy that I had that experience. To me, that was a really good learning experience.
Would you do it again?
Absolutely.
If I said for the next 3 years you have to do that again,
I could do it.
You could do it. Would you be happy doing it?
At this point,
I want to do different things now. So like where I'm at in my career is me and my partner now have a team of 6 realtors. So like a lot of the day-to-day stuff is handled by other people. And I'm more just like overseeing sales, helping people through negotiations, all the listing appointments. So like higher level appointments and conversations. And so then I get to do stuff like this.
Yeah.
Whereas if I was in that again for the next 3 years, I wouldn't be able to do this.
That's fair. I mean, and that's why I think asking that question is even just, it's really fascinating depending on who you're talking to, because I very much agree that whole like balance and work life and all of those things is very different. I also think too that like your experience, why you look back on that and say like, oh, I was totally fine to do that. I look back on my own experience because when I left that, I got health problems. So that's where I was like, oh, like the juice wasn't worth the squeeze.
Totally.
I ended up leaving, deciding not to work for anyone anymore. And I probably could have left 3 years sooner than I did, and I would have had the same skills that I had and less health problems. So like it's so like situational, and it's so based on every individual. For sure. But I agree. I think, yeah, it's just different.
I just I started seeing things. Well, I gained a lot of weight, which was shit.
See, this is what happens.
So now, 2019 goal, run or work out every single day for 2019. So I'm 280 days in or something.
So you're
like that.
really okay. So I'm getting this. I'm getting who you are now.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. Okay. We're putting the pieces together.
What am I?
You're obviously someone who just likes having a goal to achieve. Like you're very.
I like having a challenge for sure.
Which comes from your sports days.
For sure.
You're just
100%.
like very much like set goal, achieve goal, set goal, achieve goal, which is like fantastic. That's great. If you know what motivates you and that is like having the next thing on the horizon, hell yeah. I could never work out 6 days a week. No, thank you. I have like different goals at this point.
But you have to understand, I guess like growing up was every single day basketball. But from 2014 to 2017, I probably worked out less than 20 times in 3 years. Like nothing. So I went from like every day to nothing to every day, which is somewhat psychotic, isn't it?
But if you like, here's the thing though.
It's therapeutic for me. It's meditation.
This is why I also am like, Sarah, you should probably get back into doing those things. Not for like any physical reasons, but just purely because I know that I'm a very type A person. I'm also very goal oriented.
Yeah.
And I want to, when I set out to do something, when I get fixated on something, until I do that thing, it's kind of like, oh, I don't want to do anything else until I do this thing.
Yeah.
And people are like, pace yourself. And I'm like, no, pacing doesn't exist for me right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this thing. So like, I get it, but that's one thing that I still haven't been able to is like get back into working out all the time and committing to it.
I don't know if it's healthy or not. And I was just thinking about this the last few days. Well, Carl, you can have your opinion if you want.
Well, you think it's too much?
I don't think physically it's too much.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting to the point now. So the first, I'd say like 2 or 3 months were challenging. There would be days where I'd wake up and just be like, do I have to do this today? And I would just tell myself I'd do it. And then for the last 6 months, it was like so easy. It was just like a routine. Every day I wake up, have a coffee, I work for a couple hours, and I go for a run or workout at like 9. And it was easy. And in the last, maybe it's since the days have been getting shorter and it's dark. Even in the morning, it's super dark.
Yeah, it is.
I'm almost having, I don't know if it's anxiety, but it's almost like tougher mentally to do it. But I know I'm so close to the end. Well, I'm not that close. I'm still 3 months away. But I'm so close to the end of the year that I just got to do it.
You're closing in on it.
Yeah. So I feel like, and I won't do this again. I just need,
He's like, this one though.
I just need to finish the year. I have to finish the year. Otherwise, what was the point of the last 280 days?
See, this is the fascinating thing though. And I get it because I think I feel that way sometimes about certain things. But I think I'm also trying to get to a place where I'm like, look, Sarah, sometimes you set goals that you are so sure of, that you are so raring to do.
Yeah.
And then, sometimes halfway through, you're like, fuck this shit. And what is the point of dragging myself across the finish line to say that I did the thing? And I think like sometimes we need to leave room for that to just say, no.
I totally believe in that too.
It is absolutely not fun for me.
Totally. I totally believe in that. And one of the goals for 2019 was to do 100 podcasts. 2 a week. Didn't think that was that hard, right?
2 a week is a lot.
I know. I'm learning that.
That is.
This week I had 4.
How much research are you doing?
What day is this? Today's Wednesday?
We're Wednesday.
Yeah, this is number 4. Because we started a second podcast on Monday.
Sure. I'm getting scraps
What do you
at
mean?
this point. Just the lowest of energy. No, I'm kidding.
This is the best of the week.
He's worked his way up.
What is that? But wait, how much research do you do on every human that you speak to?
Depends how well I know them. I don't know you very well. I probably spent
He's not referred to the sheet but once.
0 times.
You're doing a good job then.
But I've brought up things that I like had read through your website and whatever, stuff like that. I listened to, on my run today, I went for a 47-minute run today.
Very
listened
specific.
to, I don't know why I had it on my phone. Your podcast with
Lucy and Daphne?
Lucy and Daphne, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So just pick up, get to know you a little bit better through those things. And so if I count all of that, maybe 2 hours.
So do you
but half of it's
anticipate the
through my
person
run.
that you're going to be speaking to in the sense of like, oh, okay, I know what this person's like. I know what I'm walking into.
Yes and no. I don't know if I anticipate it. I more just like want to know a little bit about them. So
When
that
you-
I can talk about, even it'll just like, as I'm listening to your podcast with Lucy and Daphne, I'm thinking of, as you're talking about a specific thing, I'm thinking about how I've dealt with that kind of stuff in the past or whatever.
When you walk away from interviews, do you feel energized by them or are you tired?
No, I feel like so crazy energized after a podcast.
Oh, well, there you go.
I'll go into them tired. Like
Yeah.
today, I was exhausted
Probably
this
didn't want to
afternoon.
fucking do the shit. He was like, why in God's name did I say I was going to
Last night I asked Carl, I was like,
Can I cancel?
I was like, I'm tired. Do you think we can postpone
It's
tomorrow?
like, give her a chance, man.
He's like, no. And it had nothing to do with you. And it was more just like, I'm exhausted. This is going to be number 4 this week.
Yeah.
Can I just ask her to do it in a week or 2? He's like, let's just do it. And I'm so happy we did because this is amazing. This has
Shout out to
been
Carl.
so much fun.
Shout out to Carl.
But even like in the afternoon, I was exhausted.
No, for real. No, I totally get it because to be honest, I even did the same thing.
Mhm.
I say yes to almost everything
Yeah.
because I really just love jumping into things blindly.
Totally.
Like I mean, I don't know you. I certainly don't know you either,
A few minutes ago, you said you
right?
could pick me now.
Now I could. But it's like but I kind of like walking into those situations.
Totally.
But because I'm a yes person for the most part, yes, there's definitely moments where, you're sitting at home and you're like, so instead of eating my lovely dinner and watching Netflix, now I have to go talk to strangers.
Yep.
I always end up loving it, which is why I know that I'm a very outgoing person. But there's certainly interactions that you walk away from where you're like, that's exhausting. There must be interviews where you walk away and you're like, that took everything.
Yeah. They happened more earlier in the year that we've been doing it.
Mhm.
And recently it's more just like people I want to talk to, first of all. So I'm only reaching out to people that like I think is going to be really good. And so the ones that are not as good are happening pretty few and far between now.
So you're getting better at it. You're getting more specific about the type. Is there a specific type of person that you like talking to? Because I would
love
liken that
talking
to
to-
even like clients that I work with, right? Like you want to know who you kind of jam with best.
Totally. I love talking about entrepreneurship. So I like talking about people that are really passionate about what they do. I don't care if it's business consulting, real estate, owning a brewery. Like it doesn't matter to me. We've had maybe 5 or 6 brewery owners on, which is pretty sweet because they usually bring like a dozen
He has
beers.
a type. He has a type.
Lots of beer in the fridge.
I just like talking to people that are passionate, and those are the people that are easy to talk to. So whether they're athletes, like we had a guy that was in the CFL recently on, we had a woman who was on Team Canada cycling, long distance cycling or short.
It was a power.
She did
power
both.
cycle.
Short track.
It was short.
Short track cyclist. There's people who are like pumped about what they're doing. We had a guy who works with a CBD oil company who is just like really knowledgeable and obviously is like really passionate about the plant.
That whole industry.
It's crazy, right? We
It's
have
kind of
another
like the Wild
girl
Wild
coming on.
West.
Invest.
It's terrifying.
I know.
I mean, but also there's just so much money to be made.
Totally.
It wasn't until I did. So I don't even know how long ago. Maybe this was like a year ago or something.
Mhm.
There is, what is it? They invest in different companies. I don't know much about these
Venture
things.
capitalists.
Thank you. Kind of like that, but specifically, obviously for the cannabis industry.
Okay.
And so they wanted me to come in and teach a workshop kind of about like running your own business and leading yourself and dealing with the stress of all of these things and da-da-da. They were like, come in and just do like a 2 or 3 hour workshop for us because they had like that seed round or
Yeah.
whatever, like 10 different people. So they were like, come in and do it. I was like, okay. So I was talking to these people and it's like, it wasn't until I kind of got in there and started talking to people that were in that industry that I realized, first of all, how much money was kind of on the line and was to be made. But also how quickly rules and regulations were changing and they were having to adapt to all of these things. Ugh. I really don't think that I would want to be involved in that industry right now.
There's so much red tape even to just get licenses right now, right?
But that's the thing with getting into anything early, I feel, right? There's always going to be doubt, always some kind of hesitation, questions, right?
Yes.
I feel you got to...
A lot of bros, though.
A lot of bros.
A lot of bros.
A lot of bro science, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it?
There was. This is the thing, because this is the thing that I find absolutely fascinating. So I don't know if you know, but so I put on a business convention with Lucy and Daphne, right?
Yeah.
In September.
Yeah.
So obviously it's very interesting because fun fact, almost exclusively only women showed up to this. And so they're like, "Oh, did you market it specifically to women?" No, it's just this is the thing that I find really interesting about business is women are far more concerned about building community and relationships and fostering those kinds of environments and being in those kinds of environments, whereas guys are far more likely to go to like venture capitalists and to like go for those big dollars.
Just to go A to B as fast as you can.
Exactly. And women are like, "No, but it's about community." And guys are like, "It's about the dollars." That's something that when I kind of stood back and looked at who was there, I was like, oh man, it's so interesting to me. Women just like aren't going for.
What causes that?
Oh, well, that's a whole other podcast. It really is, though. I mean, let's be honest. I don't think that women are really the amount of women that I
shark
talk
women
to.
out there.
Absolutely, and I would consider myself to be someone who like I thrive in negotiations. When someone wants to negotiate with me, I love it. Let's do it. Let's talk numbers. I'm not scared at all. But I certainly know that I am the exception in that. I think that most women are really scared to ask for more money.
Sure.
I think because that's just the way that we're brought up. I think that's just like societal conditioning. I think so many women are just taught not to ask for more. And I think that guys are kind of like built up.
Is it an insecurity that they don't know their competitive advantage though? Or they can't articulate their competitive advantage? Or they don't know it, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe they just think I'm a CBD oil company and there's 100, we're all the same.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think I even fall into that category. I mean, literally not that long ago, I was talking to my own coach and I was saying like, oh my God, Vancouver is so saturated with people who are coaches. Like, what am I even doing?
Yeah.
And I mean, I loved what she said to me. She was like, "Sarah, but think about it like this. Like, you would be so upset if your favorite Italian place didn't open up. But I can guarantee you when they wanted to open up that Italian restaurant, they weren't like, oh, well, there's like 9 million other Italian restaurants. We can't do this."
Yeah.
No, because everyone has their different take on it and their different spin on it, right? And I know that I have my secret sauce and that's cool. And I just like try and lean into that as much as I can. But I think that where women tend to excel, and I don't think that's like, I also hate like gendering things because like barf, but I mean, it's true. Like, let's not. But I think that historically, where women can excel, they weren't necessarily valued.
Sure.
And I think that guys were kind of like, yes, you're amazing. I've seen so many guys who have far less experience than I do, and they talk such a bigger game. And I'm like, where is this false sense of security coming from? I would love to have that. That would be amazing to just blindly believe in yourself at all times. I don't necessarily know if that's true, but they certainly talk like they do.
No, I think that's absolutely true. And it's probably even more true in real estate or like a sales environment like that, right?
Yes.
I don't know where it comes from, but to me, it's super easy to spot that blind sense of security. I think people who are able to listen are so much more attractive to me than someone who just spits information at your face.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know.
But were you all, you don't have sisters, do you?
I have 3 sisters.
Oh my God.
I have 2 brothers and 3 sisters.
Whoa.
Yep.
You come from a large family. Where do you fall
bigger
in the
than
mix?
you think. I'm number 5 of 6. Second youngest. What are we laughing about?
You're the youngest.
I'm the second youngest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you like being that?
I think it made me pretty competitive.
What about you?
I just have one younger brother. That's it.
So you're the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fascinated by these things. I'm the youngest, but I act like I'm the oldest.
Can you make connections when people answer that? Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
What comes
Come
out?
on.
What's the biggest thing?
When you talk to, I think only children.
Well, those like offshoot. Those are weirdos.
Because there is absolutely similarities between only children, and I hate like painting broad strokes across entire groups of people.
Yeah.
But I have noticed just in my own personal experience that there is absolutely like people who are only children. I think sometimes like people who are the youngest certainly like behave a certain way, which is usually like, pay attention to me. So, like, and I think that's very much true for myself. And I think like usually the oldest are like much more calm.
Right. Yeah.
Because they've like had to deal with someone younger being like, pay attention to me. And they're like, I'm not going to get fazed by this right now. I don't know. I just love learning about people.
Totally.
So like at the minute that someone gives me like any little thing about their upbringing or their childhood, I'm like, yes.
Full analysis.
We are putting the pieces of the puzzle together now. I love it.
We're growing up with 5 siblings. I feel like everyone just kind of blended in together. So no one really stood out.
No.
Kind of.
They all have to have a different.
Well, from my perspective, being number 5 of 6, I think just never really got any special treatment. So I don't want any. And it makes me awkward when people compliment me.
Really?
Yeah. Even with like sports or now business, I almost like shy away from them. And in the back of my head, I'm like, even like we talk about this all the time, sports growing up, someone would be like, you had a great game. And I'm like, yeah, but I missed 7 shots. That's like my first reaction. Absolutely. And I think it's more because of these goals. So big goals, I'm not there yet. I'm on like step 3 of 100. That's the way I think about like my career now. It's just like, there's a lot of things I want to accomplish. So sure, I'm on some sort of track to get there, but not close to where.
Do you ever appreciate how far you've come?
I'm doing it more now.
What are you doing to do that?
It's a great question. I think I just think about it more, and I can positively think about it, meaning be like, wow, it's pretty cool that we have a team of 8 now, and we are in the top 1% of realtors in Greater Vancouver. 5 years ago, if you told me that that was a possibility,
right, I
would have told you you're an idiot. And it just didn't, like, it seemed like so far away. So it's cool. Let's say year 2, I had a much better year than I wanted to, or even the goals that I set out to. But at the end of year 2, I'm like, year 3 is going to be better. It wasn't like, oh shit, I just had a really good year. Whereas now it's more like, it's really cool that we're at where we're at, but there's still a lot of steps that we want to take.
I think that's kind of the blessing and the curse, though, of
absolutely,
like doing anything for yourself. There's always that whole yes and yes, but what's next? So, like, you're saying that you acknowledge it. What does that acknowledgement look like for you? Like, are you ever celebrating those wins? Like, doing anything to celebrate them, and not necessarily monetarily, but what are you doing to like fully kind of savor that moment?
Nothing.
Oh.
Not that I'm aware of. Not like a specific thing.
Would it feel better to do that? Would it be nice?
I don't think so. I think it'd be awkward for me.
Why?
I'm just going to go out for drinks by myself and put a party hat on and light some fucking firecrackers, or what?
Of course you would think it would be that way. That's such a traditional way to think about celebrating something.
I don't know.
No, I mean, like, you could do anything. Like, it could be like, I'm going to take like 3 days off work, or I'm going to like buy myself a pair of pants that I want, or I'm going to like do whatever. And like that thing is to like, in a way, an acknowledgement of me getting closer to the goal.
I did try that a year ago. I said, when I get to this level of income for the year, I'm going to buy myself this really sweet watch. And then I got to that level of income and I'm like, there's no chance in hell I'm spending $5,000 on a watch.
That's a lot.
So I'm not doing it.
I would maybe, let's like take it down. $5,000. That's like, it's like calm down.
But okay.
Because
but
I
that
don't
was,
even, but that's not
to
even.
talk about your idea of like a possession as like a reward.
Not
it doesn't really
necessarily
mean that much to me. So once I got to that point, it was more like I would rather use that $5,000 to save and buy an investment property or like, do other things.
Right. I hear what you're saying. It's not even from a monetary perspective. It could literally be just anything that would bring you joy, for the simple fact that I'm not saying this because it's just like I love the warm fuzzies and I'm like, savor it. It's because literally when you do take a moment aside from you just being like, dope, I've accomplished this thing. If you're like taking a moment and carving it out, your brain is like releasing chemicals that are just so much more likely to propel you forward in a happier way, to continue that momentum that you're already building. Yeah. That's why starting off by creating smaller goals and slowly accomplishing those things, you build that momentum and your brain is releasing chemicals every time you're doing that, that you're just like, I don't want to say joyfully achieving your goals because that sounds like something that like a really fluffy coach would say, but you're just like that much more stoked on doing what you're doing from a literal scientific perspective.
I think I've gotten pretty good in the last couple of years at like understanding when I'm exhausted and taking time off kind of thing because of being tired. But it's not a conscious thing of like, oh, I've had a really good year. I want to take a week off now. It's more just like I plan my year around a couple times of the year where I can take vacations because they're slower times of year. Yeah. Like August and November and January.
You're a real heads down kind of guy.
I don't know.
I mean, I get it. I'm also trying to be better at these things because
I can definitely get better, and maybe it would help me. I don't know.
I mean, scientifically, it would. I'm not speaking out of my ass right now. I can send you some articles if you would like.
I believe you.
Great.
I've heard other people say it too. It's just mentally like allowing yourself to do it. And I'm getting a lot better at that in the last couple of years, but at the beginning it was zero. It was zero, like I cannot take a step off the pedal ever.
That sounds like fear though.
Absolutely. I think some of the motivation is fear driven.
Ugh. That's not fun.
I don't know. It depends how you use it. If you use it in a positive way, I think it can be fun.
I mean, I'm medium about what you're saying right now. Just purely from the like, look, there's obviously no way to continue to move yourself forward and not be scared of the things that you're doing. I just like I'm like on the fence about the idea of like using the fear to propel you forward or like to do those things. Like I'm like, yeah, I'm scared, but I'm gonna do these things, but it's not propelling me forward. If anything, it's trying to hold me back, but I'm just acknowledging that it's there.
I don't know if I'd say fear, but like using a negative past experience to motivate.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a fear. Like knowing when I got into real estate, I was working at a bank.
Yeah.
Which was terrifying. No.
Why?
It just wasn't me.
Okay.
I could
Count
never.
The money.
I could never be a. Yeah, I'm super bad at math. Yeah. I can't survive in a corporate environment.
Yeah.
The ladder.
I get that.
Of like, you have to be in this job for 1.5 years and then you can go to this job for 2 years and then this job for 2 years. If you're much better and you work harder than the person in this job, you should, I don't know. I believe in a competitive atmosphere, not a longevity atmosphere.
So then I have to ask, I have to ask both of you, what are you like the most scared of? What are some of your biggest fears?
Carl?
He's like, please don't make me answer this.
Like life-wise or professionally?
Both.
I don't know. I don't really focus on
I don't know if I've thought about it directly. I think financial stress is
just not being able to afford your beer or your bills. Yeah.
I don't really have a big fear that is terrifying to me, like heights or spiders or anything like that. I don't know. I would say I don't know, maybe not achieving the things that I want to achieve. So maybe looking back and regretting that, in this year I took it pretty light. If I worked a ton harder that year, maybe I would have gotten to that goal.
Regret is huge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For me too, I think.
See, it's really interesting though, because a lot of what you guys are saying, I would venture to say that if you just like dug a little bit deeper, that there would probably be something that was motivating that. Like those things are like symptoms of something that's like a deeper fear.
Well, for me, my dad ran sports bars and liquor stores for like 30 years and went bankrupt 6 years ago. So I never want to be in that situation. So I want to be much smarter with money. Mm-hmm. But I also feel like to get to the point of where I want to be, I need to work a lot harder. Or I need to continue to work hard.
Yep.
But I think that's part of the financial stress is like growing up, we were very middle class.
Yep.
When I went on one vacation, with 8 people, it's really expensive.
Your parents should have known that that's just absolutely too many children.
But I can remember one vacation from the age of like 3 to adulthood to like 18. Went to Florida to
Disney World.
Yes,
I knew it. It's a classic vacation.
And my oldest brother missed it because he had just got married the year before. So it was only the single kids were allowed to come.
Damn it. If he only held out for just a little bit longer.
Right? Yeah. So I don't know. I think like growing up in that environment was not a bad way to grow up at all.
Yep.
But I think it's motivated me to want more opportunity. Mm-hmm. To when I have kids one day, I would love to be able to take them to Europe and like cool stuff like that and show them history and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I could see that my parents, looking back at the time, I don't know if I recognize it or not, but I could see that my parents had tough times financially at points in their life. Mm-hmm. And even just like looking back now, like walking with my mom through the grocery store and her like having the sheet of deals out, the flyer. Mm-hmm. And being like, no, we can't get that cereal. We have to get this cereal because it was 50 cents off or those types of things. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be in that situation when I'm 40. Mm-hmm. Oh, my kid's not going to be spoiled at all though. I'm going to beat the crap out of my kid if he's spoiled. But like, if he's like, Dad, I really want Lucky Charms. I'll be like, all right. I'm not going to be like, no, you have to get this because whatever. I don't know. So those little things, I think.
See, those things just like all inform us, right? So like your fear of not making enough money comes from the way that you were raised or seeing your parents. And like, I mean, that's very true for me as well. Mm-hmm. Like I always thought that I was great with money because I was super great at saving. Yeah. It just turns out that I was like terrified of spending money. I would just like hold on to it and I'd be like, it's never going to come again. I can't spend any of it. And I mean, still to this day, I mean, I have people around me that are like, for the love of God, Sarah, you can buy the thing. And I'm like, nope.
Do you take stuff back?
No.
Oh, okay.
I just straight up don't
so
purchase
bad
it.
at this.
Yeah.
I'm just like that. I'm trying to be better at those things because I realized I'm like, oh, that comes from like, I'm very much like my dad in that respect. My dad is like super scared of like money not coming around again. Mm-hmm. So it's like,
I'm not afraid to spend it.
You just said you take things back.
Oh, I do. Like personal possessions, I'm not afraid.
Regret.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But like, I'll go out and buy like a work shirt and like 2 pairs of pants and I'll come back and I'll like look in my closet and try them on.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Huh. Like, I don't really need these. Maybe I'll wait another year and then get some more pants. Like literally that's the shit that goes through my head.
See, Carl, we're getting to the bottom of this.
Yeah. Who is this guy?
But investment wise, I'm not scared.
But I could see why you would say that though. Because like you seem like a very like checks and balances, like numbers kind of like this logically makes sense. So I can tell my brain
Yeah, maybe.
Like the part of my brain that's scared. That thing, like I could talk that thing out of it because look at the numbers on the page. That makes sense.
And logically, you didn't need those clothes. So you give them back.
Well, all right. That was my first
problem solved
counselor session. Perfect.
And I'm available for hire.
Sarah will be switching careers tomorrow. She's going to get her.
This is why people hate hanging out with me because I'm always like, no, let's talk about that for a second. They're like, no, I don't want to talk about it.
I'm obsessed with it. I just want to know like real life stuff rather than just, oh, how's the weather today?
The superficial stuff is so boring.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Ugh, there's nothing worse than a surface level conversation.
The guy we had on last night, Manny, we're talking about networking and how just the networking events are just such useless pieces of crap because you go and shake hands with 600 people and you know 0 people's names at the end.
Oh, yeah.
But like, part of the reason for the podcast, I just love this level of communication. So
that was the one thing. That was the one thing about doing a podcast interviewing other people that I was like, oh my God, this is just like such a fantastic in.
Yeah.
To talk to people and talk to people that you like admire in one way or another, where you're like, oh, I like what this person's doing. I like what they're all about. I get to have like an hour. I mean, I'm sure we're well over an hour at this point. Feel free to tell me to stop talking at any moment. But like, that's the fantastic part is like you get this like uninterrupted time with them, and the situation is set up in such a way that you're requiring them to dig deeper. Mm-hmm. So you get to cut through all that stupid bullshit.
For whatever crazy reason, it seems like people are so much more open just because this stupid thing is in their face.
I had the opposite experience. People were
really?
like, oh, this is terrifying.
Just clam up in front of a microphone?
Yeah.
Really?
I had quite a few people, like as soon as I was like, and here's your mic.
Wow.
They were like, oh God, all of a sudden I'm very aware of
I found the opposite.
The things that I'm saying.
Huh.
I even experienced that. Maybe because I was the one editing it. So I would listen back and I'd be like, is that what I sound like? Oh no.
Because
that's no fun.
I would never have a conversation this deep with, obviously we wouldn't have an hour and a half to do it, but like at a networking event, I would never have a conversation this in depth. I don't feel like myself. I feel awkward. I feel like I'm putting on some sort of facade.
Really?
Because you only get, what do you get? 30 seconds to 2 minutes with people?
Oh, I don't talk to those people anymore. If I don't
even go to them anymore because they're useless.
I've stopped also. Yeah. Oh my God. It's the absolute worst. I will never, when I launched my first company, when I had a partner, we went hard on networking. And what stopped me was, I'll never forget this. I went to a networking event and I was talking to this person, and like we had not really said anything. And she was like, what do you do? Oh, and I told her, and she was like, I can't help you. So, and I was like, what? She was like, I can't help you. I'm like, I honestly wasn't asking for anything. I came here to just purely meet people today, just for the sake of relationship building, not because I'm trying to drum up business, not because I need something from you. Literally just want to know what you're doing and what you're about. She's like, I can't help you. I was like, okay. And this is the end of it for me, because that left such an awful taste in my mouth. There's nothing I hate more than a transactional conversation. No. Like, I don't have time for that. I have endless hours for someone who's like, cool, this is what I'm all about. And I'm like, cool, this is what I'm all about. Who knows? Maybe 2 years down the road, we can do something together. But I'd much rather just talk about what we're all about than what we can do for each other.
Such a good learning tool too, right? It's, maybe I haven't looked hard enough, but the podcast has been a help with that. It's difficult for me to find people that think like me. So like a lot of my friends work, not that this is bad in any way, but it's just different than me. A lot of people that I know work 9 to 5 and love weekends, whereas like weekends are busy for me. And so even the conversations about talking about getting through problems on a structure side of your business or whatever just don't happen with that friend group. So how do you meet more people that think like you, that are running businesses and networking events? I don't know, but I haven't had any luck with them. So You starting a podcast.
I only go into people's DMs.
Totally.
I just like exclusively, I'm like, oh, you seem cool. I'm going to take you out for coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And then, really quickly into the coffee date, I'm like, yes, cool new person that I know.
Do you think, okay, put yourself outside of your shoes, because I know you would be more open to this than most women in Greater Vancouver.
Yeah.
If I did not have a podcast, it'd be really difficult for me to randomly DM women on Instagram.
I think it would depend on the way in which you did it.
Sure.
But I don't think, well, okay, wait. Take me out of my shoes.
Right? I guess if you're, yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, like, obviously, I think the mistake like that I see so many guys make, because like there's absolutely guys that come into my DMs and say the dumbest shit. Most of the time, it ends up being something about the way that I look, and then it's like a business thing. So I'm like, well, it's not really a business thing if you're commenting on the way that I look. But like, you DM'd me and you said like, hey, I would love to have this conversation. Like, sure. If you hadn't have been at that event and it was just purely you doing that, the way that you phrased it, it wasn't like, I don't feel like it had any kind of like, I don't think I would have read any ulterior motive into it. Sure. I think that that's the problem though, is most of the time there feels like there's this ulterior motive, sure. And we're using your business as like this like weird front for the fact that I actually just kind of want to hit on you.
Yeah.
But I could understand why you say that. But
if you don't have a podcast, and if it's like, can I take you out for coffee? It's probably a little bit more intrusive.
But if you said, can I take you out for coffee because I want to talk about X, Y, and Z, that's fine. I'm literally, a guy emailed me and was like, can I take you out for coffee because I want to talk to you about this? I mean, I'm not exclusively down to work with women, and like, I will work with anyone.
Yeah.
So as long as it's like, I understand clearly what you need, and then I'm in a position to say like, yes, I can offer you that, or like, no, I can't.
I think maybe for me, it's more just, I never want to be perceived as that guy. So,
I think the fact that you're thinking about it
exactly.
probably is already like putting you in a place where you're not necessarily going to be perceived in that way. Because I think that there's probably a lot of guys out there who aren't even aware of the words that they're using, and the way that they're phrasing things could be perceived in a different way.
Yeah.
I think it's always helpful to state up front why you want to connect with someone. So for me, it's usually like, oh, I love that you're talking about this so much.
Yeah.
This is what I'm all about. We seem like we have some similarities. I'd love to connect with you. And then it's just like, yeah, you leave the ball in their court.
It's funny that like I started with looks. Hey, Sarah, you're beautiful. Also, looks like you're running a business. Can I take you for coffee?
You would be why am I saying you'd be surprised? You wouldn't. Guys are ridiculous. They're like, I'm not even going to repeat some of the things, but you're just like, nope. No.
I think you're fine, Denny.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all I was getting to was having the platform like a podcast has made it a lot easier for me.
Yep.
Just made it more comfortable. Because I can say, I have a podcast, and if people Google the podcast, they're going to see that it's an actual thing.
This is all a front. He gave me a glass of wine. He said, sit down. No,
these mics aren't even plugged in.
You never said Carl was going to be here.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
There's a camera on you. Yeah.
No, it is. It's handy, though.
Should we wrap up?
We probably should. Jesus. Okay. This is going to be your longest edit ever.
That's okay.
Oh, no. We had one that crocked 3 hours.
What are we at?
Almost 2.
Almost 2.
Yep.
Okay, let's get out of here. Your boyfriend's going to start wondering.
He's flying right now.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yep. He's like, I don't know what she does. He's like, I love her, I support her, I don't know what she does.
Welcome to entrepreneurship. Yeah, neither do we.
Right? Yeah. This is the beauty. This is the thing that I laugh at, where I'm like, when people ask you what I do, what do you say? He's like, I know you're a leadership coach. Beyond that, I do not know. So I tell them to just go to your website or talk to you. And I'm like, okay.
You just got a stack of business cards of yours and he just hands them out. He's like, I don't know. Just
we do it for each other. We're both like, cool, here you go. This is like what we do.
Thanks for coming, Sarah. That was a lot of fun. I think we'll have to probably do it again soon because we didn't get through any of that.
None of it. I had a sneaking suspicion that you weren't going to. I'm curious to see what's on there.
You have to wait till next time.
But I don't. Yeah, I knew we weren't going to get to it. You even dated the page.
I got a stack of like 70 of these things. I thought it'd be cool to keep them all and then in like 20 years look back and be like, oh, this is what year one was like.
Capsule that. Mm-hmm. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
This was actually really fun. I mean, I knew it was going to be fun, but.
We told her to say that before the show.
Your compensation is on the way.